Hello everyone, welcome back. Please comment, rate, subscribe, folks. Comment, rate, subscribe, like the videos. Also share the videos. I want to thank everyone that does like, watch, and share my videos. You folks are the absolute best. Listen folks, there's a link tree down below. Has links to all of my social media platforms. Please go down there. Follow me across all my social media platforms and talk to me because I talk back. Also down there as well as links to all of my YouTube pages. Please go down there, subscribe to all my YouTube pages, and turn on your notifications so when I post content, you folks will be in the know. Listen folks. It's time, okay? It's time to discuss the New York Jets. It's time to talk about some of the things that we need to improve on this roster. I have come to talk to you folks today about the New York Jets linebacker position, okay? Listen, there's some things, that we could do to really improve this unit. We saw some outstanding play from some backers. We saw some questionable play from other linebackers. We saw, that we have some question marks as well that we need to shore up. And there's some guys not only in free agency, but in the draft that could really help us. And so I'm going to sit here and discuss that with you folks. Now, I'm going to talk about some of the more impact linebackers, the guys that were really out there hitting and playing. Not going to mention everybody because that would take so long. It'd be a ridiculously long video, so I'm just going to hit on a couple of guys that we currently have on our roster that really made an impact this year that I'm excited about. So one of the first guys, at linebacker that really, really popped for us this year, CJ Mosley. Come on. You know what I'm saying? I think unanimously amongst the Jets fan base, we would vote him the best linebacker on the New York Jets football team, right? Now, this was a guy that a lot of people were dogging, and I get it, okay? I defended him to the moon and back. There was Joe. He's only played 2 games in 2 years because of the injury that he had 2 years ago that sat him down for quite a bit of time. He tried to come back during the season and play with it. We clearly saw that he was not healthy because he was limping around like crazy. And, he went back and he ended up on IR. The next year he opted out because of what's going on out there in the world. And this year was the big year for his return. And there was a lot of fans that were just like, we should get rid of him. We should trade him, move on from this guy, so on and so forth. And he even said himself in the offseason coming into the season that he heard those things and he allowed it to motivate him. He was a guy that was fully in on Sulla. I'm talking he did everything it took to prepare himself to get ready for the season. We saw a weight loss out of him. We saw him coming in and we saw him flying around, particularly again in the offseason during practices, even during some of the, the scrimmages, all that stuff. We saw that CJ Mosley was back and he was going to make an impact this year, and boy did he. 103 tackles, 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. This guy was all over the place. He was hitting constantly this year. Constantly. I'm telling you, he was a guy that really stood up and stood out. Especially, you look at a lot of the big games that we had this year, the big wins. You look at the Titans game. He played unbelievably big in that game. 13 tackles and a sack in that game. He was flying around hitting people. CJ Mosley was amazing for us this year. And not just that, but you talk about his leadership as well. This is a guy that is extremely vocal. He's one of the guys that when he talks, okay, when he talks in that locker room, when he talks on that field, those guys listen. Those guys listen, man. And then you also hear him talk about the things that he wants to do in the offseason to help recruit players to the Jets as well. He's openly talked about, hey, look, I'm going to start talking to free agents. I'm going to start talking to other guys around this league about what we're building here with Sulla and Joe Douglas, and I'm going to try my best to entice players and have them come on into the Jets. Sign a deal. Come over here, wear that green, and play hard. So I'm excited about CJ Mosley going forward. Man, this is a guy that really put on for us this year. Now, there is one thing here, okay? We all know we're in a rebuild. We've got cap space. We've got money. But CJ Mosley is due $17.5 million this year, okay? He counts as $17.5 million, all right? That is because he signed a deal. Mike McCagnon was the guy that signed him. Thank goodness Mike McCagnon is gone now. But wow, that is a lot of money for an inside linebacker. And I know some of you are thinking, well, why don't we just release him? We can't. If we do that, we then will eat $20 million of dead money from him. It'd be insane. So we can't really release him. I don't know if the New York Jets are going to approach him to restructure because he does have some time left on that deal. But I don't know if I would restructure if I was him. I'm getting my 17.5, regardless. But I tell you what, CJ is a great player. He's definitely done his thing. I'm excited to have him here, and I cannot wait to see what he continues to bring going forward, man. He really stepped up for us this year. The next linebacker that I think really made some plays for us, really handled business, and was kind of surprising was Quincy Williams. Quincy Williams, who was Quinnen Williams' brother. Quincy Williams stepped in. He was a late free agency signing. I don't think anybody really thought that we were going to get the type of production that we did out of him, but boy, oh boy, did we get some production. This dude was flying around, hitting people. I mean, he was laying it down. Every single game that he got a chance, he was out there blasting people constantly. So I'm excited about this guy going forward, and this is one of the guys on the defense that I think will also benefit from some of the weapons and pieces that we'll add via free agency and the draft, on this defense to really help it catapult itself to the top. So Quincy Williams is a good player, and I cannot wait to see him come out next season and handle his business. Now, one of the guys that we have going into free agency at linebacker is Jarrad Davis. Now, Jarrad Davis is a guy that we signed. He's a first-round guy. Was playing with the Lions. Never really lived up to the first-round tag. We were hoping to get him to come here, and we would get more out of him. Sell is known for really getting the most out of guys, that a lot of people in the league kind of turn away. And he came here. He dealt with the injury early, which sat him, on the IR for the first couple of weeks of the season. Then when he got out there, he was, kind of up and down from time to time. He made his plays here. We also saw him get cooked in coverage sometimes. So he is going to the free agency this year. And, I wouldn't necessarily cry if the New York Jets allow him to walk away, because there's so many other options for us to continue forward and bettering this defense. But if they do offer him, a deal that works for us and works for him, I wouldn't cry either. I don't have any problem either way. But, again, there's so many other things that we can do to improve this defense at linebacker, so many other options, so many other players. I would let him walk, to be completely honest. The biggest question, or one of the biggest questions I think we have at linebacker position, is with these two young players, Hamza Nazardeen and Jamin Sherwood. Now, these are two guys that we took in the draft recently. And my thing with them is Jamin Sherwood spent a lot of time on the injury list on the IR. He actually tore his Achilles. Hamza Nazardeen was also on the injury list quite a bit frequently, dealing with a lot of different stuff. I believe he got hurt against the Titans, and that costing him a bit of time there. And then we kind of saw some up and down play for him. Now, these are young players. These are safeties that we've converted into linebacker. I get it. But again, when you look at where we took them in the draft, which was late in the draft, but there's other guys that we took late in the draft as well that came in and made impact. Brandon Echols is one of them, right? And so these guys are kind of the guys that we didn't really see much impact from. So next season, I'm looking to see more out of them. I really want to see them take a step forward. Mainly, I want to see them be able to stay healthy. I think that's the big thing for them. Best ability is availability. You know what I'm saying? So you got to do that. So Hamza Nazardeen and Sherwood are two of the backers that I have the kind of question marks about going forward. I want to see them kind of step up and do their thing. Maybe next year is the year that they really step into their own, and really get some footing under them, especially a second year within the defense. So when you look at the free agency market, there's guys that we could target out there, and there's a lot of talk about different guys that we could go after. I've heard, fans try to talk to me about Hightower, fans try to talk to me about Bentley and all these guys, but one guy is out there that I think the New York Jets should definitely target is Kaywon Alexander. Now, this is a guy that we chased before, and he actually, continued to stay with his team and do his thing. Now, the Saints are in a lot of issues cap-wise, and he more than likely is going to hit free agency again this year. And let me tell you, this is a guy that we should absolutely sign. He has familiarity with Sella. He also has familiarity with the defense as well from his days with the Niners. I think he could come in here and immediately be a fit. He's a 28-year-old backer, a guy that can come in and give us some years and solid production here. So Kaywon Alexander, for me, is my number one free agent target at linebacker for the New York Jets. And you look at the draft, there's some guys there too. Devin Lloyd from Utah is a guy that people are just raving about, and I get it. He's a good player. You know what I'm saying? Especially when you look now, again, I think the New York Jets at this moment, because free agency is coming, will address a lot of positions. I don't think we'll take a backer until like 10 or, if we trade down after 10. I think 10 is where we'll actually look to take a backer. And so Devin Lloyd could be one of those guys from Utah. Again, he's a guy that can do it all. He flies around. He's athletic. He can blitz. He can come down, be solid in run support. But one of the things that really kind of impresses me about him is his ability to cover tight ends. Now, if you know the New York Jets, you know we struggle to cover tight ends for quite a bit of time. You know what I'm saying? Like, they eat us up every single year. So if he's a guy that can come in and stop that from happening, I'm all about it. Another guy that is just, man, this kid is flying up the board. A lot of people are excited about him. Nakobe Dean from Georgia. People are talking about him constantly. Let me tell you something. he is, all about business. So this was a guy that, I kind of had to look around. I was familiar with him, familiar with his play and stuff. But when you really sit back and watch this guy's unbelievably athletic. His sideline to sideline speed, whoa, is unbelievable. You know what I'm saying? So he's a guy that I could see us taking at 10 as well. If we're looking for a linebacker at that spot in the draft. So with all that said, comment down below. Let me know what you folks think. How do you folks feel about the New York Jets linebacker position? What are your thoughts about CJ Mosley? How do you feel about Gerard Davis? Would you re-sign him? What are your thoughts about Jamin, Sherwood, and Hamza Nazardeen? Do you expect better production out of them next year? How do you feel about Quincy Williams? What are your thoughts about the New York Jets and what they should do in the draft? And how do you feel about free agency, man? Who are some of the guys that you would like to target? Comment down below. Let's go back and forth. Can't wait to talk to you folks. You folks have a good one. Peace.